transition is with us, and it's here to stay. Global economics, technological changes at the speed of light, and social values that are changing faster than any time in the past. To help guide you along your journey in this fast-changing life, the show with a purpose: to empower, to enlighten, to educate, and to entertain. The show that offers you a friend, a guide in the most transitional time in the history of the human race. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's your host, Steve Beaman.
Well, hello, my friends, and welcome back to this episode of the Steve Beaman Show. We are so pleased that you share this time with us each and every week. Don't forget, you can watch a video of the show up on stevebeaman.com, and we get a lot of feedback about that video, so we love to having you watch that. Hey, today's show, this is going to be a deep one, my friends. We've restructured things a little bit. We've retitled these segments, by the way. We're excited about that. This first segment we're going to call Master Your World.
That is so cool.
Isn't that nice?
That's cool.
And it is what we're trying to do. We're talking about topical issues that affect the world in which we live.
Right.
We then are going to go into Master Your Mind. And folks, we're on the 5 paths, and today we're talking about the spiritual path. So you want to buckle your seatbelts for that. And then at the bottom of the hour, we're talking about Carol's magical words, but we're going to rename that to Master Your Words, because words have great meaning, and we want great meaning to come through the show. And then we'll come up the backside of the hour with Master Your Money. So we hope it's a show that provides real help for real people, and you're the number one person on our list of people we want to help. So thanks for joining us. So, Carol, it has been a great week. We've had some time to talk about our mission and get everybody on board. So
yes, well, Steve, and we met a couple times during the week this week to talk about some of the issues that are going on, and I'm really excited about this show. And I'm just so excited to be working with you, and I think our listeners really just need to know where your heart is at. You really do want to offer, we want to offer real help for real people on a consistent level that's pertinent to their lives. And you are the money master. And if we can all learn to master the 5 paths, we are going to bring so much value to our society and our communities. So.
It certainly is a strongly held belief of mine. It's why I've written so much about it, because I believe that all of us are going through this time of transition and a time of uncertainty. You know, whether you've got elder care issues, child care issues, college issues, health issues, we understand it. We've lived a lot. And together, if we come together to, as we've said, make Americans great again,
amen. That's
we can really drive real help to real people. So it is a mission that we are excited about.
Okay, so the Master Your World topic this week is from the Epoch Times article that can be seen at stevebeaman.com. You talked about how we celebrate the 240th anniversary of the birth of freedom, but you're talking about some kind of like monopoly, cronyism, capitalism kind of stuff. And
this article, Carol, was the genesis of it is this idea that America's bought and paid for. And we hear it a lot, and this gets into politics because guess what? In the world at large, there is a political and policy implication. If you look at what I wrote, my concept is this. The Bernie Sanders side of the world says there's corporate welfare. That's the problem.
But there is corporate welfare. We bailed out big banks, which are corporations. We bailed out the auto industry, which is a privately held corporation,
absolutely.
Right?
Right now, if you take away the funny numbers that the Sanders type people use, there's about $400 billion a year that is giveaways to corporations, whether it's through special lending programs or special pricing programs.
But let me ask you a question. Our lawmakers in Congress and in the Senate, they have to pass bills to be able to make this legitimate, correct?
Absolutely, and that's why lobbyists exist.
That's why lobbyists exist.
So, yes, I don't deny the fact that corporations have an undue influence on Washington.
Can I just say something, though? But these corporations are also providing jobs in a tax base.
That's right.
There's something that they're paying back.
Out.
There's a yin and yang there.
But what I wanted to do in this article is go to the other side and say, is there another side that's bought and paid for? And it gets into social welfare programs. I'm not criticizing people who need short-term help. I think they do. But our social welfare systems have evolved into institutional programs that best estimates cost about $930 billion a year.
To taxpayers.
To taxpayers.
Now, Steve, you just said something, okay? there is nothing wrong with giving folks a hand up
That's
and
right.
something to hang on to. So because the Great Depression showed us a lot, there was just way too many people that lost homes, and it was
History has done
devastating.
that, right? You've
It
had
was
cycles
devastating.
up and down, and people get wiped out.
And America, who we are as a people, we are a loving, giving people. That is who
Part
we
of our
are.
nature.
It is part of our nature, okay? But does there become a lifestyle? Does welfare become a lifestyle where it's like, you know what, this is just the thing I was born into. It's hard to get, I mean, the mindset is it's hard to get out of this.
And that's what's happened. We've created an institutional poverty, which is a poverty of the spirit and of the mind. And yes, it ties into the money, but let's be realistic. When you talk about bought and paid for, if you have two politicians and one of them says, I'm going to cut your benefits, and another one says, I'm going to expand your benefits, there's no question where that vote's going to go.
Well, you're creating a voting block.
And I'm not condemning the people who voted, but it's a rational act on their part. But we go down this path of who really buys and sells, Washington. And that poverty has a very real component of wealth generation to people who serve it.
I hate to say this, but it's a form, take me the right way, it's a form of control and slavery.
It is in my mind. I there's no question. So I looked at this and I thought, okay, if Washington is bought and paid for, is it corporations doing it through lobbying? Yes. Is it us, the people, through 46 million people on food stamps, 100 million people getting checks from the government? Yes, we're voting for this. But there's an elephant in the room, and it's called the public employee pension problem. Best estimates, my friends, are that there's $4 trillion of underfunded pensions for public employees.
That's nationally, right?
That's nationally.
And Illinois is one
Illinois
of
is
the
a
lead.
poster child
It's
for
one of the
this.
leaders of it with the public sector pensions.
It is. And so when we talk about bought and paid for, I'm not denying the Sanders people that corporations have influence at
Right.
all. But boy, you have to be honest with yourself. And if you're sitting on the other side, you have to say, well, okay, public employee unions are also buying and selling politicians like there's no tomorrow.
Well, wasn't it FDR who was the creator of the New Deal,
Yeah.
which was a little, intentions were good, right? He said there was no place in a free society for public sector unions.
There's no question the intelligentsia of the New Deal didn't believe in the public sector unions because, and if you belong to a public sector union, I'm not criticizing you, but let's be realistic. The government negotiates with the union and says, I want your vote. Mm-hmm. The union says, if you want my vote, you give me this benefit.
Right.
The politician has no governor on their behavior, so they say, okay. Where in a private union, you have the interest of the shareholder against the interest of the worker. They balance out.
Right. Well, now here's the funny thing. When did public sector unions, do you know when they really became popular? Was it the 60s, 70s?
That was through the 40s and 50s. And so, I mean, they grew and grew and grew, and they continue to. In fact, if you look at union membership, the only union membership that's still intact is public sector unions.
Really?
Yeah, the private unions have literally, they're down to 6 or 8% of the workforce. They've really come down because manufacturing has so changed.
Right.
We
Like,
live in a technology society.
And you know what? Here's the deal. I mean, what I do know a little bit about is the teachers union. And of course, you want your teachers to be paid well. I mean, there's,
All of us.
job security is a good thing. But when you get administrators, and I hate to say this, but administrators are retiring on $400,000 a year with a 3% increase on the taxpayer dollar. That's kind of
We know that it's gotten out of balance.
That's out of
And
balance,
the
yeah.
issue here isn't with the teachers. And Lord knows.
it's just an
I
example.
give praise to the teachers my kids
Right,
have had.
right.
But it is a situation where these unfunded liabilities have just become an egregious, again, the elephant in the room. And I wanted in this article to, I guess, put some balance to it, to say, yes, let's look at corporate lobbying. That's real. But let's also look at us, the people. We're bought and paid for. And the politicians, the other side of this I didn't get heavily into, but is the gerrymandering thing. Oh. The way that we gerrymander voting districts, bought and paid for, yeah, you can see it directly through that. So, again, the idea is in the world in which you and I live, in this transitional new world, we have to be conscious of what the facts are. And the facts are, yes, our political system is subject to undue influence from all types of groups, and let's not be naive to that.
Well, you have to look at the whole perspective. You have to look at the whole pie. You can't just look at the private sector. You have to look at the public sector, too.
And folks, you're wondering why we're talking about it so long. This entire show is going to push the edge of the envelope because
yes.
It's about knowledge. It's about understanding why we believe what we believe. And if we're looking in this kind of knowledge of your world or master your world, a question comes up. Why do you believe what you believe? Where do you stand on these philosophies of how government should interact with people? Why do you believe it? Is it just because you were told to, because you were raised to, or have you actually thought about it?
Well, hopefully we are thinking about it. I'm just going to really quick, I like your thing here, the favorable regulations and other goodies from Uncle Sam.
Oh, we get a lot of them. So anyway, that's a little bit of the Master Your World segment. It's a little deep, we know that. But hey, folks, we've got a terrific Master Your Mind segment. We're going to be talking about the spiritual path, and that is one that sets foundation for most of us. So we'll be right back on the spiritual path.
Hi friends, Carol Parisi here. If you're like me, you're always on the quest for improved sleep and more energy. I discovered the secret to getting this. It's tart cherries and their restorative powers. It's been found that tart cherry juice, like the Cherry Bundy brand, could help to relieve aches and pains, provide faster muscle recovery, and help you get a good night's sleep. The science shows that tart cherries and Cherry Bundy are rich in antioxidants that help reduce inflammation in the body. These antioxidants also work to reduce exercise-induced oxidative stress to help your body recover faster. Tart cherries also contain naturally occurring melatonin, known as a key ingredient to a good night's rest. To learn more about the science behind tart cherry juice, check out choosecherries.com. It's full of data from independent research studies. My favorite tart cherry juice brand is Cherry Bundy, which you could find at cherrybundy.com, spelled CHERIBUNDI.com. And tell them Steve and Carol sent you.
I love that little introductory song they put up for us, don't you?
I love that song. I want to dance.
Exactly. It just gets you going. And, okay, here we go down what is one of the most important, for me, it's the most important, for Carol it is. It's on this 5 paths, and let's go through them again. We're talking about intellectual understanding and health, physical health and wellness, emotional stability and wellness, financial wealth, and spiritual health and purpose. And that's what we're going to talk about in this particular time we have together. Now, I want to say right off the mark, having spent 5 or 6 years talking to people about this, I know that sponsors get nervous, people get nervous, and everyone's, oh, you don't talk about God. Well, we're going to. And we're going to do it because, you know what, folks? It is important. If you come into this show and you're an atheist, an Ayn Rand atheist who believes it's all in your mind, or if you're a devout Christian or a Catholic or whatever your particular flavor is, we know in the spiritual path, it's where you find purpose, perspective, priorities, and a philosophy of living.
I love that. Purpose, perspective, and priorities. So let's unpack that, because I'm very much into the spiritual path, and I really, our essence, that is our eternal being, is our spirit.
I can tell you, Carol, in my life, I've been stripped of all of the others, and I had nothing left but my spiritual path.
And you know something? You just said something. You can your health can go bad, your emotions can be a wreck, your finances can be a wreck, and everything.
All of the paths can collapse.
Your thinking could be bad. Yeah. But if you have a spiritual foundation that you can tap into, you can get great strength from that.
I can tell you it's an old statement, but it's heavenly true, and that is there are no atheists in foxholes. When everything else is stripped away and you're looking at that depth of despair, you're saying, I can stand on my faith. And to me, as I looked at the development of the 5 paths, without a spiritual path, I find it hard to find purpose. I find it hard to find a philosophy of life. We've talked at length.
Yeah.
Where in the world do you find right and wrong even? I mean, fundamental truths of our living. How do you do without a conscious recognition and understanding of your spiritual path?
Well, I do believe we are all created for purpose. And that is part of that spiritual path. And if you can tap into that, I think you could even embrace your purpose even more. It gives you purpose.
It absolutely does. Rick Warren wrote a wonderful book called The Purpose-Driven Life. And it is about putting purpose into a life. And again, I find my purpose in a biblical view of the world. I believe in Genesis to all the way to Revelation. I believe it's God's inspired word. And I know other people may believe other things. But part of this spiritual thing is to understand why you believe what you believe.
Well, that is a great question, because we were kind of trying to unpack that, and that actually got me thinking. And yes, I grew up in a family that, we went to church. And
I grew up Catholic.
Me too.
Right.
Me too. Made my communion and confirmation and all that great stuff. And the Catholic Church, I love it. Beautiful. I grew up in a beautiful church I went to. But is that why I believe what I believe? Yes, I think that is a foundational training.
We're all set by our history and our training as children and our belief systems that we're taught. No
Bible
question.
says, train up a child in the way he should go. So you do need,
This sounds really horrible, but you know who else said that?
Who?
Adolf Hitler. Give me a child till they're 2 years old. I'll give you a Nazi the rest of your life. The point with that being that our faith and our spiritual path becomes one of a necessary understanding. Why are we transferring these values? Why do we believe it? If someone sat down with me and said, Steve, on your spiritual path, you believe Jesus is the Son of God, and I do, I can give you lock, stock, and barrel insight as to why I believe that.
Right. Me too.
The worst thing I find in people, and this, I don't mean it judgmentally, but I mean it as a truth.
It almost sounds a little judgmental.
I know,
Just say
but
so.
when I
Say that again.
And thank
Explain
you for saying that.
Explain that again.
When I say to people, why do you believe? Well, because A said so. Why did A said so? Because I believe. It gets to be a circular argument. And what I'm hoping, I guess, is as I've lived my life and I've trained my children and I've worked through these 5 paths in myself, it was hugely important for me to understand what I believed and why I believed it, so that I could have a foundational knowledge that what I believe that guides my life is really true.
Well, we one of our words of wisdom back, our F word, was faith.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes, it's symbiotic with the spiritual path,
Absolutely.
because you have to have faith in something. If you don't believe in something, you're going to fall for anything. It's like, how do you just imagine something just popping up?
And Carol, we could go all day on this, folks.
Well, right.
But here, you just said something that's so important to me. When you talk about an individual's purpose in life, and again, you go to the extreme of the agnostic or the atheist who says, I don't believe in any of this. Again, I don't want to say it judgmentally, but how do you find purpose? How is that not hollow? How do you live in an existence without faith? How do you not embrace faith as an enhancement of your life, as
Those
a way
are
to
just
make it better?
stories. Hey, those are no. That's what I've heard. Those are just stories.
Well, I would
okay.
disagree. And again, in my path, I've studied it, so I'd like to say here's why I think they're real.
So let's hear what you said something: purpose, perspective, priorities, and philosophy. Perspective. A perspective. Let's talk a little more about perspective.
We all have a perspective of our lives on what's right and wrong, what our value system is, what our moral box is. And we're seeing that tested now more than ever, right?
Yes.
And so
yes.
understanding your own spiritual foundations help you set your perspective of right, wrong, social mores, and all the rest, so that you can feel comforted and confident that you're not going to be challenged because you're grounded deeply in your own understanding.
Well, so are you saying that your spiritual path is coming from your own perspective?
No, I'm saying that it develops your perspective.
Okay, there you go. I like that. I like that.
So it's kind of the chicken or the egg. I put it after the fact.
So when it helps develop your perspective, that gives you your priorities. That will put your priorities in proper order.
Absolutely, because when we look at raising families, when we look at, again, the deep issues of life that we've talked about at length, elder care issues, the real stuff we're facing today.
Substance abuse, addictions.
Moral transition. I mean, we're seeing in the world transitions of this moral fabric. It's changing faster than any of us ever thought it could.
You're saying something, though. I mean, you're saying yes, But is there really anything new under the sun?
No.
Or do we just have the technology to be more aware and awake to some of the things that are going on?
Carol, you hit a good point. We're just seeing a lot more because of social media and all the rest. And there are more active subgroups today. It's easier to build a movement today than it's ever been.
Yeah.
But the foundations of faith are being changed and they're being challenged. And I believe that through a conscious devotion to a spiritual path, you can build an understanding of your path so that you don't feel challenged.
I like that, a conscious devotion. I like that. That is really, really good.
Oh, good.
That's
glad you
that's
like
really good. So let's talk about how does philosophy fit into all this? Your philosophy
all of us have a philosophy of life. This overarching wrapping around 30,000-foot view of what makes life what it is. Why am I here? Why are my kids here? Why do I love? Why do I hate? Why do we have war, famine? All of these things are a philosophy of living.
Yes, they are.
And the spiritual side of our life gives us this philosophy of right and wrong, of good and bad, of the knowledge of good and evil, right? I think we have to embrace it, and I think we want to consciously have it because, folks, I will tell you, there will come times in life when your money's gone, your health is gone, your emotions are shot, and you can't think to see the light of day, and the only thing you'll have to stand on is your faith.
I've been there.
As have I.
And you know something? The only thing that got me through it was my faith. And I
it's
thank
real.
God for that. It's so real.
It's so real. And so it's why it's in the 5 paths. It's why we do talk about it. Again, I've written 125 articles about it because I believe we have to have this conscious embracement of it. I think the people who used to be called C&E Christians, for example, in the Christian faith.
What did you just call them?
C&E. They went to church on Christmas and Easter.
Oh, Christmas and Easter
I
Christians.
think they're missing out on so much.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not judging that they do it as wrong. I'm saying you're missing out because to live a holistic life is an embracement of the 5 paths, and to embrace wholeheartedly your spiritual nature brings out the goodness in you.
See, for me, the spiritual path is the center point of all the other paths. Because without that, for me and my own perspective and my own philosophy and my own purpose and my priorities that I base it on, that to me will enhance every other path.
I believe that, and to me it is, but I will tell you that the challenge of developing a diagram for the 5 paths is tough because I've seen people who lost their money and it took everything else down. I've seen people who lost a loved one in the emotional path, and it took everything else down.
That's tough.
So all 5 of these play together.
Yes, they're symbiotic there. It's part of a holistic.
And again, like we say in our video, to live life, you can go about it, but to live an extraordinary life, we want to help you do that through the 5 paths. Hey, and stay with us for the challenge later on because we're going to challenge you on this particular topic. When we come back at the bottom of the hour, Carol has her words of wisdom, which are now Master Your Words. A funny thing happened over the past years. Responsibility for retirement got shoved onto your back. IRAs, KIOs, 401ks, and all the other alphabet soup of investment options were thrown to you with the happy statement, you're now in charge of your own retirement. The problem is, money doesn't come with an instruction book. Well, here's the instruction book with no biases, no conflicts of interest, a pure purpose to promote and provide financial education. Welcome to the Society to Advance Financial Education, a 501c3 not-for-profit organization created and sustained to help you, real people in the real world. When you need a friend in finance, someone to explain things and make them understandable to you, you need SAFE. We have spoken to hundreds, thousands of people in transition, men and women dealing with retirement, college planning, divorce, death, transitions of all kinds, and we are there to help. Visit safefinancial.org on the web and become a member. Let our educational tools help you. Welcome back to the Master Your Words segment. We used to call it Carol's Words of Wisdom, but we had a dinner the other night. We were talking about how to take this show and make it better and better and better, and we thought the Master series just worked well.
Well, you could master your life if you deploy all of these principles. That's kind of real help for real people there, Steve.
We could go on and talk about that just plain and simple because the passion we have to provide real help and actually dig into people's lives and help them with these issues they really face. That's why we do this. Hey, we are sponsored in this segment by our good friends at Cherry Bundy. If I would go back, I'll preach this too. If you haven't tried this yet, you got to have a tart cherry juice. It is good stuff, makes you sleep better, makes you recover from workouts better. They're now getting sponsorships from sports teams because it really does work.
It beats inflammation.
It absolutely does. So we want to thank Cherry Bundy for stepping up and sponsoring this. And don't forget, of course, to visit stevebeaman.com for the video of this, the articles we have, and the other thoughts we have on how we can provide that real help. And if you'd like, become a fan on our Facebook page. It doesn't really do anything, but it helps us know that people are out there. And we do like you to write us at carol@stevebeaman.com and steve@stevebeaman.com.
I think we could give away a couple Cherry Bundy 4-packs.
I think we can, and I mentioned last week, we finally are getting our emails now, so
yes.
if you haven't gotten stuff from us and you've wondered if we've forgotten you, no, we haven't. I just wasn't getting the emails, but we are getting them now, so send us emails and we'll send you out some Cherry Bundy.
So do we want to talk about today's word?
I absolutely do.
Okay. Today's word, it's such an overused word sometimes too, but it's knowledge. And I'm going to just read what Socrates said. There's only one good, knowledge, and one evil, ignorance. Something to chew on.
Ignorance is not bliss.
Sometimes ignorance is bliss.
Well, okay.
I'm going to say sometimes ignorance is bliss.
There are times, right? But no, Carol, I think as we look at the 5 paths and we look at everything we're doing, there is a component of knowledge to all of it. But more than that, if knowledge is power,
I was just going to say, some people say
put
knowledge
into action is superpower.
Well, there you go. There you go. Because we sometimes, I mean, look at how educated we are as a society. And there's a lot of knowledge out there. But does knowledge equate common sense?
Well, I had a discussion, actually, this goes back, it was, I forget what day last week, Monday or Tuesday, but I had a discussion with somebody about education. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about the status of American and global education and homeschooling and all these other things. And we were talking about the fact that what we've done is we've picked up a lot of knowledge of technical detail. We know how to do physics. We know how to do earth sciences. We know how to do space exploration. But what we're forgetting is the knowledge of living. Basic common sense things, because the society we're living in is transforming and doesn't go there.
Well, you said something. It was funny because we were talking about knowledge and what to know and need to know and how to know and say it because it was pretty cool.
Which part? I mean, knowledge is this concept of knowing. I need to know what I know. I need to know what I don't know. And I need to solve for those things in life. I think the scariest thing to me is not knowing what I don't know.
See, I find it to be compelling when I find something, I wake to something that I don't know. It's like, now I want to know more.
Yeah, but see, you admitted that you knew you didn't know it.
Yeah.
What scares me is if I don't know it.
Wait a minute. Why does it scare you that?
Because I can't solve for a problem I don't know exists. Think about it in life.
Okay, you're confusing me.
Well, no, it's pretty simple when we do it, because if you think about, there's things I don't know. I don't know, for example, how to bake a cake. I can go read the instructions to learn how to bake a cake.
You could figure out how to bake a cake.
But what if I don't know I have a problem? I'm not aware of a problem that's developing. I don't know how someone else will react to something I want to do. It's not knowing what I don't know that scares me.
Okay.
And so my whole life has been devoted to trying to understand what I can find out, what I can know more. Because to me, knowledge is everything.
But you know what? Sometimes we can get knowledge overload. I am a big fan of studying different things, different genres. I mean, history. Right. I love history. I love ancient history. I love ancient history. Well, what type of power am I getting from that knowledge?
Okay, and it's hugely important, right? We all watch the news. It's why... Oh, boy, here we go. It's why we try to take knowledge to make knowledge put into action. Because if you just have random knowledge, it's academic, it's ivory tower theory, that's good. God bless it. It's wonderful. Glad to have it. What do I do today? If you're looking at real life and you're saying, I got to put a retirement away, I got to put kids through college, I got to deal with cancer in somebody I love, I have to deal with elder care issues, real world issues, the question is, how do you take the knowledge that you have
and deploy it
in an action step that makes your life better?
Well, I think the very first thing of knowledge is to know yourself. Because any of the things you do, if I'm uncomfortable investing in something for my retirement, I know my level of risk and reward. So you got to know yourself and know where you're at and how all of these things before you take action.
Absolutely.
So knowledge there is a certain amount of knowledge, and knowledge is not necessarily wisdom.
No, they're very, very different things.
Yes.
But I also want to take it back to knowledge in the 5 paths, Because if we understand our emotions, we understand our cognitive abilities, we understand our physical health, we understand our spiritual path, then we can understand our financial path.
And that's know thyself.
And that's where we come next into Master Your Money. And we had a natural segue to that, which I'm excited about.
I love it.
Yeah, folks, we do love it when you write. So continue those letters to us at steve@stevebeaman.com and Carol at stevebeaman.com. When we come back in the Master Your Money segment, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about how to deploy knowledge. And I've actually added some things to the end of this segment you're going to want to hear. I can't give advice, but I can sure educate you on how to make some returns. We'll be right back here on The Steve Beaman Show.
We just finished tax time, and I know, like me, many of you are thinking, wow, this gets more complicated every year. I'm Steve Beaman, and my friends at Beaman Associates have been helping individuals and successful businesses for over 20 years. In construction, they say measure twice and cut once. In accounting, trust me, research and plan before you act. When you need powerful tax and accounting advice for you or for your business, contact Beaman Associates at 630-653-3510. Visit Beaman Associates.
Now, back to the Steve Beaman Show for insight on your money and the nation's financial future.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Master Your Money time, in which we do talk about your financial future, our nation's financial future, and how all of that plays together to build a better life of financial prosperity to you. Now, we've talked about real prosperity is this holistic purpose of life, right?
Well, abundance and prosperity.
It's not just
it's not
the money.
just money. Dead
But
presidents'
you know
pictures, although they're nice.
I think it was Jimmy Stewart in It's a Wonderful Life when he looked at Clarence, and Clarence said, "We don't carry money up in heaven." And he looked and he said, "Well, it comes in pretty handy down here, bub." It does. And we've all been in it, whether you got to pay a college loan, you got to pay a car, whatever it is, money matters.
But isn't that, I mean, you just said that, though, It's a Wonderful Life.
Yep.
That movie is about a holistic life. I mean,
Absolutely.
having family and friends that supported you, and him waking up. I mean, he was so concerned about the money in the bank, and then all of a sudden he got this bigger perspective, and it all worked out.
And just a little side note, that show bombed when it came out.
Did it really?
Because in the Depression, people didn't want to see a depressing show.
But it was so...
To us, it was uplifting. But in the heart of the Depression, the nation was so depressed, they didn't want to hear about that show.
But every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings.
I wish we had a bell. I'd ring one
I
right
know.
now.
Okay,
so anyway, we're going to talk today about this idea of knowledge and knowledge of everything going on in your money. Because one of the things I find is that when I talk to people through this society, they don't always know what they don't know. And that, to me, is this huge thing. I will mention we are sponsored by the Society to Advance Financial Education. Folks, it's a 501c3. Register that. It's a not-for-profit. It's out to be your friend in finance. So don't hesitate to reach out to the Society at safefinancial.org or me at steve@stevebeaman.com.
So how do we get more knowledge? SAFE has a vast amount of information.
Well, let's start with 3 questions. Why do you need it? How do you get it? And what do you do with it?
Okay, why do you need it?
Right. All of us live in a world today where money matters. Again, whether you're taking care of parents, you're putting a retirement away, you're trying to buy a new car, if you're just starting out, coming out of college, you're thinking about your college debts. Everybody knows deep down, I need to worry about this. But most people don't. They kind of say
Well,
it'll
I
take
think
care
people
of
will
it.
worry about it. I
But
think they worry about it and they spin their wheels worrying about it and don't take the proper
They don't take
knowledgeable
that.
action.
And then that's the second thing is where do you go?
Right.
Having spent my life in the financial services industry, I can tell you that you start by building knowledge. When I talk to people about exchange-traded funds, when I talk to people about derivatives, when I talk about the VIX, I talk about things that people go, the what, the what, the what? It's that knowledge that allows you to then take the next step, which is to act and make gains. Let me give
you also have a more global perspective because I know what you read all these different news constantly. And since we are a global economy right now, it all works together, right?
Let me give you a specific. When Brexit came out and everybody said, oh my gosh, the world's coming to an end. Brexit happened. The markets dropped off a ton. Guys like me were loving it. There's a little volatility thing called the VIX, V-I-X. It's an exchange-traded fund that measures implied volatility of the markets. The day before Brexit, it was trading around $14. Mm-hmm. When Brexit hit, it went to $24.
Wow.
Those of us on the know made 100% on our money.
Wow.
Right. That's not bad day's work.
That's beautiful.
It is
and
beautiful.
The common Joe can do that.
Yeah. It's just
with
knowledge.
the knowledge.
With the knowledge. That's the kind of important stuff that we need to impart on people. When you talk, first rule of finances, don't get conned out of what you already have.
So
right?
what I'm hearing from you, Steve, the proper knowledge will help you deploy the proper action to help build your financial success.
And we have the opposite that happens in America today. People without the knowledge start to take the actions, and they get hurt. They listen, I got to be careful here, but they listen to radio programs who say, give us your money, we'll teach you how to trade. Those people don't care if you make a dime. They care that you buy their trading system.
And when you buy their trading system, can you make a dime on it?
Typically, no.
They don't supply it with the back-end knowledge.
It's not that. The system itself is assuming that you have 100% adherence to it in the times it tells you to have adherence.
So it
Nobody
has to
can
be a
do that.
full-time job.
More than
you have
that,
to
it has to be a complete discipline of, almost maniacally following what these things do.
Okay.
And nobody does that. So your returns don't show what they said they would. More often than not, people lose money. Or I'm going to say you go to one of these seminars from a certain author, and he beats people bloody on buying $2,000 seminars. It was another reason I started doing this. I'm so offended by it, I can't even tell you. I've sat in these get rich things, and they beat people up in the seminars until they get $2,000 commitments out of them. Those people walk out of there, they're $2,000 poor, and they will never earn that money back.
That's where you need knowledge.
I started to get off on
That's
my
where
high
you
horse.
need knowledge. You know what?
You've got to have it.
Because something, sometimes I've gone to some of those seminars and I've seen some of their tactics. I'm a real good one, though. I could walk away.
Right.
But if you don't have there is no such thing. You have the knowledge of this. There's no such thing as a free lunch, and there's no such thing as money for nothing.
No, and one of the things when you walk away from a segment like this and you say, well, okay, I get where you guys are going. I hear your passion. I understand it. But what do I take away? What do I do? And I will tell you, the first thing you do is don't be conned into one of these seminars.
Go to SAFE.
Yeah,
go to SAFE. Go to stevebeaman.com.
Yep.
You have free information on there.
We do. In fact, some of you wrote me, and I'll do this again. If you want to write me at steve@stevebeaman.com, I'll send you the first lesson, which is on banking and all this other stuff, just to give you a flavor of what SAFE does. You're going to like it. And membership is, what, $5 a month?
It's like $5 a month. You have a premium member that we'll talk about some other time.
Working on some of that.
But Steve, here's the thing. For an investment in yourself of $5 a month, you could take that knowledge and leverage it and really get the financial power.
I hate the idea of selling
Well,
SAFE.
you don't have to sell SAFE, but I mean, folks should know about it. It's great. I'm a member.
They've got to be able to do it, because this thing on the VIX, I'll teach you how to do it. I'll teach you how stochastics work and Fibonacci ratios work. I'll teach you all this stuff.
The Fibonacci
Right.
sequence.
It's
That's
all
cool.
fun. So, hey, folks, we got a lot to talk about when we come back for our final Master Your Life.
Welcome back to this great edition of the Steve Beaman Show. My goodness, this is the fastest hour on radio, Steve. This is our Master Your Life segment. After we had the Master Your World, the Master Your Mind, Master Your Word, Master Your Money, we're going to just master our lives now, aren't we?
Is that not what our goal should be, to create life masters around the world?
Absolutely.
Again, we don't want to make America great. We want to make Americans great.
And that's empowering. When you could master your own life on all of these 5 principles, guess what?
It's extraordinary.
You live an ideal life, and you
really
are going to
do.
live in the exceptional, that exceptional
you wake
American
up
dream.
glad you did it.
Yes, and you do. You feel better all the way around. So, okay, let's do our review. What did we talk about today so much?
Well, we had a deep one in that first Master Your World, because we talked about the buying and selling of America, and that is a deep one. It's not new. It's been going on since the country was founded, but it's getting to a point that people need to be aware of it.
What are our solutions for that?
Knowledge, people need to be aware of what's going on, and not political knowledge, truth knowledge. They need to not buy into what people tell them to believe, but believe it because they've studied it.
Yes, there is a difference between political knowledge and truth knowledge.
Facts matter. So that's what we would hope people's takeaway from that would be, you know what? I need to study this so I can become more intelligent on these issues.
Okay, master your mind. The spiritual path.
And wasn't that fun? And it is a core. To me, without my spiritual path, I'd have no reason to be. We've talked about how for every person to live a fulfilled life, you got to have a faith system, and you got to get your priorities and your perspectives and your all of it put down.
Purpose, perspective, priorities, philosophy, and I do believe it gives you a passion for life.
And our takeaway from that is simply that to know why you believe what you believe
there you go.
So empowering. In fact, let's segue that into our challenge for the week.
Let's do our challenge, and then we'll get into the know, because it's knowledge and knowing and know thyself. So go, Steve.
So here it is, folks. As we go through a weekly challenge, take this one. Sit down this week in the quiet of your own mind and think about why you believe what you believe. Why are you on the spiritual path you're on? Is it where you want it to be? Are you sitting in a place that you say, I'm content by where I am? Or should it be more drawn out?
How about better than content? I am at peace.
Maybe. So
I like peace.
We want you to think about it and be able to report back on the next episode how you stand on understanding why you believe what you believe.
How about last week's challenge in judgment? Did everybody deploy good judgment? I did better this week with my judgment.
I did okay.
You did okay?
Yeah.
I did better.
I'm really hard on myself. I beat myself all the time about judgment.
Well, it's okay. You know what? That's all right. So our letter K word this week was knowledge.
And that flows through everything we do every time we do it, because without knowledge, what have we?
Without knowledge, my people perish.
Right.
People will die. You will
So no, knowledge,
not thrive.
folks, put that right up. To have knowledge is to have power.
And master your money.
And then we talked about knowledge and money and little things like how you need to know about the VIX that you could have doubled your money, or the options world where you can make some money.
And you could get great information from SAFE.
You can. We're glad SAFE is a sponsor. We're glad they're a not-for-profit that's your friend in finance.
501c3.
You got it.
Non-for-profit.
We also want to thank our friends at Cherry Bundy, who are so kind to give us lots of product to give you. So don't forget to write. And this time we get your email. So guess what? We're actually going to send it out. We also want to thank John Grebe, who is our accounting friend out in the Wheaton area at 630-653-3510. John's a good friend. He gives really good accounting advice. If you run a small business and you're wondering where you can get somebody you can trust, John is that guy. I've known him for years and years, and I have massive respect for him, and I consider him a friend.
He's got the knowledge.
He has the knowledge, and it's put into action for you.
There you go.
So that's kind of cool. But if you would like to sponsor the show, you can always send me a note at steve@stevebeaman.com. And I do want to thank Jim Thompson, our producer, who makes it all possible for us to put this out there. And I want to thank our friends at WIND AM 560 The Answer for distributing it, as well as our friends at Red State Talk Radio, who put it up there on the internet. Don't forget to visit stevebeaman.com to see our video, because as we do every week, when we come down to our video, we want them to know it is from our heart to their hearts that we do this. And that's the whole purpose of it. So folks, have a wonderful, blessed week ahead. We'll see you for the next episode, which will be our L word.